Everything will be fine, and we'll have a long, happy life together, the husband said when he was still trying to win her over. At that time, she wasn't really in love. She saw him as a strong protector from her worries. Her father told her, "My dear, I don't have much time left because of my heart problems. I'll be at peace if you marry." Lida, a small, gentle woman with soft brown curls, believed the sweet words of her most persistent suitor. Later, she realized he was like a chess player who won without making many promises, or like a hockey player who used his stick if needed. Or maybe she just hoped that she wouldn't be lonely and would have someone reliable by her side. She might have taken more time to think, but doctors kept giving worse news about her father. So she rushed into marriage, hoping her father would recover if he saw her wedding and heard about a pregnancy. She said, "Goodbye for now. I'll be very happy to love you." She should have noticed how her groom's face twisted with malice. But she was so worried about her father and her loneliness that she convinced herself she was imagining things. At that time, she thought it was all right. Did he ever prove his feelings or do anything for her? No, he just talked a lot. Music. In her anger, Lita said, "I, as someone who loves you, feel that I am needed by you and our future children. Just trust me, everything will be fine." She was overwhelmed, and her father paid for the wedding but didn't live to see it. As she stood there, crying, Yuri said, "Please don't embarrass me. People will think you're doing me a favor by marrying me." It was sad that he only said this after the wedding. Otherwise, she would have run away and forgotten everything. "I'm sorry I wanted to delay the wedding because of the recent funeral. I lost the closest person to me just a week ago." "Are you stupid? Who would pay for the wedding again? Would dear Papa come back and give more money?" the husband answered roughly. Anna suddenly felt faint in her beautiful wedding dress and collapsed to the floor. When she woke up, someone was pouring water on her to wake her up. Yuri, who had been cold before, was now acting sweet and caring, but he seemed as dangerous as a tempting but evil gingerbread house. "Come on, darling, wake up," Yuri said loudly. "This is your special day. You'll remember it." "It was a mistake," she whispered, still confused. She wasn't just talking about the wedding, but also about the baby growing inside her. "Why do you say that?" she wondered. She thought she'd made a mistake by getting pregnant by someone like him. She thought the baby would be unhappy, and she was foolish for hoping her father would get better if she rushed into marriage. "What's wrong, darling? What are you talking about?" Yuri asked as he led her out of the noisy restaurant into a quiet room. He then changed his tone. "Calm down, you idiot. This is all your fault, you know that. I only married you hoping that your father would leave us some property, but he's still alive and gave everything to his brother. All I got was a wedding with someone I think is a gray moth. And my father hates you. If I didn't care about my father, you'd mean nothing to me." Anna didn't understand why her father-in-law's feelings mattered. She barely knew him and had hardly spoken to him. Yuri continued, "Nothing good is going to come from this, but since you're pregnant, we'll have to wait to get a divorce." She had taken 2 pregnancy tests, both showing positive. She had to accept that she was going to have a baby. "But wait, I'll make your life miserable if you don't file for divorce after this pointless wedding," he said. "I'll put up with this disgrace only because career, people, and appearances. If your father hadn't left me that inheritance, I wouldn't have bothered with you at all," Yuri shouted, his face red with anger. Lita couldn't understand why her father had given all his property to her half-brother from his first marriage, Andre. She didn't even know Andre well. The news only came out at the funeral. All that was left was an old house no one wanted to fix up. Andre had said something odd. "Believe me, Dad wanted to protect you." "What do you mean?" she asked, but Andre said it wasn't the right time to explain and that someone would tell her later. It wasn't just that she found herself almost broke. She began to question if her father had ever truly loved her or if he had been pretending, like Yuri was now. This doubt was tearing her apart and suffocating her. "Yuri, I need to get some fresh air and then we'll act like everything is fine. Don't worry, after the wedding, you probably won't see me again except maybe during the divorce. Even then, we can handle things separately," she said calmly. Her only thought was to run away before she completely lost her mind. Weeks passed, and she stayed in her tiny apartment like a recluse, rarely going out. Lita struggled to eat as she thought about her humiliation. She called a taxi, but her wedding dress was so big with a crinoline that she couldn't fit inside. "First, you better change quickly, or we'll run out of time," said the driver, his face red with frustration. Liuta pulled out manicure scissors from her bag and, with the driver watching in shock, roughly tore the crinoline from her dress. Finally, the crinoline was gone, leaving only the wedding dress underneath. She was glad she had picked a dress that could be altered into a mermaid style by removing the crinoline. She didn't want to wait or call a minibus, she just needed to get away. As she traveled, she nervously glanced around, afraid she might do something drastic in the back seat of the car. Finally, unable to keep quiet any longer, the driver said, "I'm not one to give advice, but sometimes couples make up and things can look better in a new light, Lyudmila." For some reason, Lyuda clung to these words, hoping for a change with the baby or improvement in her relationship. She waited, hoping for a call that might give her a brief sense of being needed or at least postpone making any decisions. She felt like she was a target, wounded and alone, needing time to heal. But nothing changed. An elderly man in an expensive suit came to deliver her divorce papers. "But he knows I'm pregnant and can't divorce me," she said. "What can I do? The more people like this argue, the more money I make. If everyone behaved decently, we'd be out of work. Sorry for being blunt, but I'm out of money and energy. I'm overwhelmed," she complained, though she knew he didn't care. The bald man just shrugged and said, "I'm not here to play therapist for the poor. Call a free help hotline if you need one." He waited for her signature and warned her not to delay or upset his client. "Yuri Arkadyevic told me everything. He knows about your life. Don't try to blame him. If you know who your real father is, handle it with him. Women these days are impossible. There's no room for sympathy," the man added. Lyuda realized her husband had spoken badly about her, and she couldn't find the words to defend herself. What was the point of trying to prove anything to this cold, money-focused person? A week later, she prepared to follow the divorce summons. She decided not to spend money on a taxi since she didn't have the strength to work and had quit her job. Her savings were nearly gone, and she didn't want to call her half-brother, fearing another harsh lecture. After 2 subway transfers and a minibus ride, she walked quietly to face another humiliation, trying to keep her mind blank but unable to stop the tears. Suddenly, Lyuda started to gasp for air and had to sit down on a bench. She had arrived early for her next challenge, and her usual habit of being overly punctual, along with the stress of recent events and her pregnancy, probably contributed to this. A hand touched hers, and she heard someone say, "Get away from that scoundrel quickly. When you get home, open the mirrored wardrobe and look behind the double wall. You'll be grateful for this day." "How do you know about the divorce?" Lyuda wondered, suddenly recalling every word. She looked up and saw a gypsy sitting in front of her. Weary, she said, "I understand. You saw the sad woman near the divorce place. I don't have any gold or cash. Don't expect it and don't believe in any fairy tales, Lyudachka. I'm not asking for anything," the gypsy said seriously. Her face seemed familiar, but Lyuda couldn't remember where she had seen her before. "Please just leave me alone," Lyuda asked, feeling overwhelmed and not wanting to deal with anything else. It was unclear how the gypsy knew her name, but maybe she had seen the documents in Lyuda's bag while she was asleep. "Don't forget about the mirrored wardrobe and the divorce," the gypsy added. "We'll meet again, and things will be much better for you," she promised before disappearing. Lyuda felt a flicker of hope about the mirrored wardrobe. She checked her bag and was relieved to find nothing missing. When she arrived at court, Yuri was there, but the crowd had vanished and her sadness over her father felt even heavier. The proceedings went smoothly, with nothing to divide. Yuri only wanted the ring he had given her back, which she handed over immediately. "Good luck," she said to him as they parted ways. "Who needs you?" "You're a nuisance," she added, using her grandmother's favorite phrase. It was sad that her grandmother had drowned with her mother on that steamboat. So many losses in the past 3 years. She even wondered if her father had left everything to injury because he had lost his mind under the strain. This thought made her feel a bit better, and she even managed to smile. Yuri recoiled in anger and stormed out. Lyuda realized, regardless of whether the gypsy's words about the wardrobe were true or not, she was already grateful to be rid of this insensitive man. She took a taxi to celebrate her small victory, glad that the gypsy hadn't stolen anything and hadn't caused her any more distress. When Lyuda got home, she examined the old oak mirror with its intricate carvings and found a screwdriver. She used it to remove the screws hiding the back wall of the mirror. Behind it, she discovered a key and a note in her father's handwriting. Lyuda opened the blue old suitcase that Mom left behind from her last trip. Andre will tell you the rest. He's your friend, and your half-brother adores you. Liuta was shocked but had stopped being surprised by anything. She unlocked the suitcase and inside was a huge amount of cash, so much that she couldn't even count it, probably several tens of millions. Along with the money was Andrei's phone number, and she remembered that he had never given her his number before, though she wasn't sure she had asked for it. The note continued, "I'm glad I made an impression on you. My acting studies weren't in vain. Let's meet at the cafe near your house. I'll explain everything. Your half-brother seems to be waiting for you." When Liuta asked about the call, she was surprised that Andre admitted he was the gypsy. The gray eyes and sharp nose matched. "I've been waiting for your call," Andre said. "Okay," she said, remembering. When she got home, she took another pregnancy test. Even though previous tests had shown positive, life can be unpredictable. This time, the test was negative. Whether or not the gypsy was really Andre, the test gave her hope that she might not have to have a baby with someone like Yuri. While she never would have considered ending the pregnancy, she was relieved that she might not be expecting after all. She waited a few months as Andre had asked, acting like nothing had happened. She didn't talk about her new wealth and didn't expect visitors. An ultrasound confirmed she wasn't pregnant. Andre explained that Yuri's father had been her father's enemy and had ordered his son to marry her, take her property, and make sure they had no children. Her father had done nothing wrong except be jealous and blame others for his failures. Yuri, who idolized his father, followed his orders. The fake documents and false pregnancy were all part of the plan. "But why didn't Dad warn me about marrying Yuri?" she asked. "Well, who knew? Dad was very ill when all this came to light. He was afraid that telling you might cause you to lose the baby. It was his grandchild too. So he sold everything and left you the suitcase and note," Andre explained. "Now you're safe. Yuri and his father have fled abroad to escape the debt they hadn't repaid and are facing legal trouble." "I thought you were a wicked stepbrother, glad I was left with nothing," Liuta said with a smile. "Why did you pretend to be a gypsy?" "It was to help you and let you know about the money secretly. If Yuri had seen us together, it might have raised suspicions. He was watching you," Andre said. "I studied acting, and by the way, I'm happy to share the success with you. I know my father didn't part on good terms with your mother, but he supported us both. There was no cheating involved, and we stayed friends. Well, I'm going to move to a new apartment. I don't want Yuri coming back and asking about the child who will never be born," Liuta said. "Good idea. You always wanted to be an architect and move to the northern capital, right?" Andre asked. "Yes, you know everything, just like a gypsy," Liuta teased. "Don't say that. I'm a good person, and as I promised, we met, and things are better now," Andre said, sounding like the gypsy again. Liuta sighed with happiness. It wasn't just about the money. She was glad to have found someone reliable and close. Thank you for sticking with the story. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up. All the best to you.